Over the years, I have been told by many people how multifaceted I am. I have many different interests, and I can play just as well in the game of logic as I can in the abstract. I can be super self focused and highly individual while also being really supportive of my loved ones, of my tribe, of the people that I really care for. I've often felt the push pull of doing my own thing versus sacrificing who I am in order to benefit my community. I can be simultaneously super logical and focused on the facts and the details while also really diving into nostalgia and fantasy. When I first saw my human design chart, it was a little bit overwhelming because there is a lot going on in there. I have 8 defined centers and 6 defined channels. And as I started to learn about human design circuitry, all of this multifacetedness really started to make sense. It's so common for us to assume that everybody is like us, but the truth is they are not. We are all so different, so individual, and the human design chart really shows you that and gives you such a clear picture of your true nature, which is one of the many things I absolutely love about it. When you look at the definition in my human design chart and my circuitry, you will see that it is pretty evenly balanced between the major circuits and the subcircuits. Now, what exactly does that mean? We're going to find out about all of that in today's episode, why it's important to know about circuitry, and in the upcoming episodes, we'll be diving even deeper into what this all means and why it matters to you in life, in relationships, and in business. Welcome to Heart-Centered Human Design, the show that empowers heart-centered entrepreneurs to use human design and emotional intelligence to create meaningful success, work-life balance, and transform their passion and purpose into impact and prosperity. I'm your host, Vanessa Naja, human design mentor and business coach, and I'm so excited to help you dive deep into this incredible system to help you understand yourself, be on purpose, and fulfill your potential. In today's episode, we're going to dive deep into circuitry in human design, what it means for you, how it shows up in business, and the emotional aspects that go along with each of the circuits. And before we get into all of that, I want to share an amazing free resource that I'm offering right now called Bite-Sized Human Design. Here's how it works. You send me your human design chart and ask one question about a specific problem that you're facing right now. This could be about business, relationships, or just something you're struggling with emotionally. I'll record a personalized voice note for you, giving you very targeted guidance based on your human design and on your unique circuitry. And this is not a generic response. It is tailored specifically for you and your energy and what you're struggling with currently. And the best part is it's totally free, plus it's a great introduction to understanding how your design can create incredible breakthroughs in your life. So if you're curious and you want to learn more, check out vanessanaja.com/bite-sized, and I'll also leave a link in the show notes. So we already know that human design is an incredible system of self-understanding that helps you deconditioning all the parts of you that you have taken on from outside of yourself that are not actually you, so that you can really express your authentic self, discover and live your purpose, and fulfill your potential. Now, when it comes to circuitry in human design, circuitry is what creates definition in your chart. And when you're looking at your chart, you're always going to see certain aspects that are colored in and certain aspects that are in white. The parts that are colored in your chart, whether that be the centers, the geometric shapes in your chart, or the gates or channels, the lines that connect those centers, anything that is colored in is your unique energy that you have consistent access to throughout your entire life, and it's what you express out in the world to others, and other people receive this and pick this energy up from you. Anything that's white in your chart, whether it's a center or a gate or a channel, these are inconsistent parts of your chart where you're taking in that information from other people, potentially amplifying it, and it's an area of great wisdom for you. So there's really no good or bad here. Having more or less definition, it's not better or worse, it's just different. And it's a lot of it is what makes you the being who you are and makes you completely unique. Now, human design circuitry are these energy pathways that connect the centers in the chart that determines the flow of energy in your chart. The circuits are composed of gates and channels. Now, if you're looking at the human design chart, you will see that each center has a bunch of numbers around it. These are the gates. They are the same in all charts. The numbers don't move. The only difference is whether that gate is defined for you, colored in, or undefined, not colored in. Either it's your consistent energy defined or it's inconsistent for you, and it's what you learn from other people, undefined. Now, when you have two gates that are opposite each other, they connect two centers. And when both of those gates are colored in, you have a defined channel. And anytime you have a defined channel, both of the centers on the ends of that channel are also going to be defined. This creates your definition. Now, circuitry is so important because your definition creates your type, it creates your authority, and it also shows you your consistent strengths that you are broadcasting out into the world and that you're meant to use in your everyday life, whether that be in your relationships, in your business, in your personal life. These are your consistent strengths, and you can experience these in both a healthy or an unhealthy way. And other people are going to be picking them up from you, especially people that have these undefined, and they might amplify those. Now, if you're a reflector, you're not going to have any channels, and that is actually your strength, your fluidity, your variability, your ability to sample and reflect the energy of others is actually your strength. So just because you don't have any channels doesn't mean you don't have any strengths. You have plenty. They're just very different because reflectors are very different. Now, as I said before, circuitry is really important because it does define your human design type as well as your authority. It also has a big impact on relationships, and I'll go into that in future episodes, but how your circuitry, what you have defined, is going to influence how you impact others and also how you connect others and how you magnetize people into your life. And there's also a lot of business relevance here, because your defined energy has a big influence on your role in collaborative environments and how you impact other people. And also your undefined areas, whether that be centers, gates, or channels, can also be adapted in a way that they can really be a fantastic business asset. And we'll get more into this in this and future episodes about circuitry. Now, in human design, we have 3 major circuits, and then we also have some minor circuits and subcircuits. And I want you to think about circuitry kind of like the electricity in your house. Different parts are wired to do different things. So, for example, you might have a circuit that wires your bedroom and the personal areas in your life. You may have another one that wires the living areas, the kitchen, the communal spaces, and there could be another one for your bathroom. So these are all different areas in your life that are influenced by the circuitry. Now, most people have a predominant of maybe 1 or 2 circuits. And as I shared in the beginning of the episode, I actually have an equal balance of all 3. And depending on where you are dominant or how your circuitry is balanced, it's going to have a pretty important influence on your life and how you express who you are. Like I said before, I'm extremely multifaceted. I have tons of different interests. I can fit in a lot of different places in a lot of different ways. And a lot of that is because I have channels in every single one of the major circuits and subcircuits, with the exception of one where I only have a gate. But I'm pretty equally balanced throughout most of them. So the 3 major circuits, we have the individual circuit. And this one is focused on self-expression, personal evolution, bringing newness, bringing change, innovation. And this circuit does encompass all parts of the chart. It flows through all of the centers and it touches every single parts of the chart. Then we have the tribal circuit, and this is very much covering themes of support and caring, community, agreements. A lot of business is in the tribal circuit. And if you think about, major corporations, or even things like organized religions, the type of things where you have an us versus them, politics, that type of thing, that is encompassed in tribal circuitry. Now, it's not all bad, because tribal circuitry is also really about making sure that you can bring things into form through collaboration, as well as nurturing what you're bringing into form, whether that is a family or a business, and making sure that everybody in the community has what they need. Now, the tribal circuit doesn't cover all parts of the chart. The tribal circuit is more focused in the bottom of the chart in the root center, the sacral center, the spleen, the emotional solar plexus, and the will center. It also has one channel up to the throat for expression, but the tribal circuit is not involved in the upper center. So the head, the ajna, conceptualization, inspiration, that is not part of the tribal circuit. Then we have the collective circuit, which is focused on sharing knowledge and collective progress. This circuit also touches all parts of the chart except for the will center, which is mainly made up of tribal and one individual channel. So, what aspects of the chart are touched by these circuits is also going to influence how they operate. Now, you may have channels in one or more circuits. You likely have gates in probably all of them. And your chart is maybe more heavily weighted to one area or another. That is something that you can see in some advanced software, or you can understand through reading where you're the most heavily defined. Usually, when you have channels defined in a circuit, that's going to define that circuit more heavily for you. However, if you have your conscious sun, for example, in a specific circuit that you don't have any channels in, that is still going to be pretty impactful. And you are generally going to have a little mix of all of these, but you may be very heavily weighted towards one area. And somebody that, say, has a lot of individual circuitry and very little tribal circuitry, they're going to be here to bring more innovation and change, but they might just not be as concerned with caring for their loved ones or their family or being a part of groups. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that we're all different. And when we see these differences in our charts, it can help us understand each other better and work better with each other. Now, circuitry does relate to business. So, for example, individual circuitry, there's a lot of innovation, bringing something new to the table that comes with individual circuitry. People that have a lot of the circuitry can often be very ahead of their time, and they often can make a really big contribution in areas of, say, branding and strategy, in research and development, and bringing new things to the table. Tribal circuitry is going to be more focused on team dynamics and building trust, building agreements, dealing with the aspects of business that are required in order to support the tribe, whether that be a small business, a small company, or a corporation. Team dynamics, collaboration, working with others. All of these aspects are covered more under tribal circuitry. And then in collective circuitry, we're going to be focused more on the strategic sharing of knowledge and experience in order to help move us all forward. And if you think about this from a team perspective, you can imagine you have the person that has the individual circuitry that comes up with a really innovative, exciting idea. Then somebody with tribal circuitry might come in to build a strong team that's going to help bring this product or this idea to market. And then you're going to have the people with the collective circuitry that are looking at the data, looking at what worked in the past, how that might move forward into the future, and just dealing with the strategic data-driven decision making. Now, the three major circuits are all made up of subcircuits. And I'll be diving more in depth with those in future episodes, but I'll just cover them in a broad view in this one. So starting with the individual circuit, this is made up of the integration circuit, the centering circuit, and the knowing circuit. Now, the integration circuit, this is kind of known as like the backbone of the chart, and it is very focused on self-empowerment and survival. And it can be very self-focused because in order for us to survive as a collective, the individual has to survive first. So this energy can sometimes be perceived as a little bit selfish, but people that have a lot of integration circuitry, like they can be very self-empowered and somewhat self-focused, and that's just part of who they are. Now, I do have integration circuitry in my chart, so I understand how this works. It's a complex circuit, but it is very common for people to have some integration in their chart. People that have integration in their chart can be more self-directed. They may not always like working with other people. And of course, there's gonna be other aspects of the chart that are going to talk more about whether somebody's good at collaborating with others or if they prefer working alone. But generally speaking, if there's a lot of integration in the chart, these are people that prefer to do their own thing. This is also very fast-moving energy, and people with this, especially with the 3420 channel, can sometimes feel like others are slowing them down. That doesn't mean they can't collaborate with others, but understanding how this works, whether you have it yourself or you're working with a partner that has this energy, can be really helpful in how you work together. Then we have the centering circuit. This is also part of individuality. It's a very small subcircuit made up of only two channels. And this is very much about staying true to oneself. This is known as an aura busting circuit. And what that means is if somebody's in the presence of somebody else that has a lot of centering circuit in their chart, the person that doesn't have that circuitry will naturally be drawn more into the individuality of the person that does have the centering circuit. People with a lot of this circuitry in their chart, they can be very focused on self, but they also lead through example and can be extremely inspiring. And they inspire others really by being centered within who they truly are. And the last aspect of the individual circuitry, the last subcircuit, is the knowing circuit. And there is a lot of intuitive understanding and creative insight in the circuit. People that have a lot of energy in the knowing circuit, these are people that just know things. It can be really like out of the blue, like insights that are potentially very ahead of their time. These are often the people that don't know how they know what they know, they just know. And this is something that really to take into consideration in children. These are the kids that get the correct answer on the test, but then get points taken off because they didn't show their work, because they just knew it kind of just came through for them. But if you ask them to show you how they did it, they wouldn't be able to. So understanding if you or somebody in your life, especially a child, has a lot of this energy in their chart is actually going to be really important, because in schooling, this is not the circuit that we're conditioned to want to do well in. That is a logic circuit, which I'll get to shortly. But just the individual knowing is just as valid of a way as knowing as logic. This is a great example of conditioning and how conditioning can come into play. Because if you're somebody that has a lot of knowing circuit in your chart, but not a lot of logic, then you might have been conditioned to feel like you're not smart or you can't explain what you know. So maybe it's not valid, when in truth, it's actually completely valid. It's just not the way that we've been conditioned to know or understand. Moving on to the subcircuits of the tribal circuit, starting with the defense circuit. This is another aura busting circuit. And what that means, if somebody has a lot of definition in the circuitry, which I actually do, people naturally will get pulled into that. So you could have somebody who's highly individual standing next to somebody who has a lot of activation in the defense circuit. And all of a sudden, that individual person is naturally drawn into being more tribal. It is so fascinating the way that our auras interact with each other and the type of impact that circuitry can have on other people. Now, the defense circuit is really, the purpose of it is ensuring survival and support within a tribe, a family, a community, a team, or a business. So it is very group-oriented, group-focused, and connecting with others. This circuit is about creating something new. And again, this could be whether it's a family or a business idea, and also making sure that whatever is being created is being nurtured into wherever it's going. So whether it's raising a child or creating a business, putting it out there and making sure it survives. So that is the defense circuit. The other part of the tribal circuit is the ego circuit. And this one is very much focused on the material aspects of the business. Ambition lives here, creating resources, managing resources, making sure everybody has what they need. This is all part of the ego circuit, which is a subcircuit of the tribal circuit. And that brings us to the collective circuit, which has two subcircuits. So one of them is the logic circuit. This is very much about predictability, seeing patterns, looking for patterns for collective improvement. These are the people, the scientists that are looking at the data that are logically predicting the future based on what has happened in the past. And this is that circuit that if you have a lot of activation in it, you're probably going to be that kid that people were like, oh, you're the smart kid in school, because our traditional schooling system is very much focused on logic. And again, this conditioning can benefit you as it did me. I do have quite a bit of logic in my chart. And so school always came easy for me because traditional schooling is made for people that are logical. Of course, this conditioning also can go against you if you don't have a lot of logic in your chart. If that is just not how you operate or see the world, then again, you may have been conditioned to believe that you're not smarter. There's something wrong with you because you don't figure out things the way that we were conditioned to figure things out, basically via logic. So again, important things to keep in mind when you're looking at your circuitry, because sometimes there's areas in your life where conditioning has been beneficial to you. And a lot of times there are areas in your life where the conditioning has not been beneficial. So understanding how your circuitry actually works and leaning into the beauty of your actual strengths is such an important aspect of the deconditioning process. So the logic circuit is not connected to the emotional aspect of the chart. So this can be considered more cold and calculating, whereas the abstract circuit, which is the other subcircuit of the collective circuit, is actually connected to the emotional solar plexus in that side of the chart, and it's considered more warm and nurturing. The abstract circuit is more concerned with the past. People that are really into history can live in this part of the chart. There can be a lot of nostalgia there. This is where we have our experiences and then we share our experiences and what we've learned from those experiences in order to benefit others and move the collective into the future. And guess what? I also have a lot of this circuitry. So again, this is an example of you might fall very strongly into one area of the chart and you might really have a lot of strength in that area. And the other areas you just don't understand, like how are people so logical, or why are people so concerned with nostalgia or the past? And if that's just not part of who you are, that's not necessarily something you're going to be concerned with. But when you understand this about yourself or others, it can help you see them in a different way. Understanding and recognizing the strengths that you have in your circuitry can really help you lean into your natural talents in areas of consistency, really stepping into the healthiest expression of that circuitry so you can really use it to your advantage. So you can really use it to be on purpose and fulfill your potential, such an important aspect. It can also really help you with emotional patterns, because a lot of the circuitry, and we'll be talking about this more in future episodes, does go through the emotional solar plexus, or even the aspects that don't still have some very specific emotional aspects that may come up for you, whether you have the circuitry yourself or whether you are connecting with it in some of your relationships. So again, understanding that can be super beneficial to you understanding your own emotionality, as well as the emotionality that you create with other people, whether that be your family members, your personal relationships, your friendships, or your business partnerships, can be such an important part of making the most of those relationships. And lastly, your circuitry can really help you optimize in your business, because it can really show you what strengths you have, what the best areas are for you to really focus on in your own business or in a company if you're working with others, and which areas might be better left outsourced or delegated to somebody else, so that you're not using your precious energy doing work that's really not in your zone of genius and that's just kind of a waste of energy. Understanding all of this, such an important part of human design. I'm going to go deeper into each one of these circuits in upcoming episodes. I'm super excited to share them with you. I hope this overview of human design circuitry has sparked some insights for you, depending on where you're listening or watching. I will also post images of the circuitry so that you can compare it to your chart. If you don't have one already, go get one at vanessanaja.com/free chart. Or better yet, vanessanaja.com/free guide, where you can get your personalized human design purpose report for free, which will also show you your circuitry. And if you are not somewhere where you are watching, head over to my Instagram at hdvanessanaja. I will have some posts up there with images of circuitry as well, so you can compare yours and see what you have. And you can also check out free bite-sized human design. Maybe your question is, about your circuitry or where you predominate. Again, you can ask me anything you want. All of the details on how to do that and sign up for it are at vanessanaja.com/bite-sized, and I would love to answer your questions. Links for everything are in the show notes as well. Your free bite-sized human design is the perfect way to see how human design can unlock solutions that are tailored specifically to your energy. And it's a great preview also how we could potentially work more deeply together through my different programs, if that's something that is interesting to you. There won't be any sales pitches or anything like that in your bite-sized session, so don't worry about that. If you just want to get one question answered, that is totally cool. I'd love to hear how this episode landed for you. Do you have any questions or anything that you want to share about your circuitry or how that has shown up in your life? Please leave me a comment wherever you are listening or watching. I would love to hear from you. And if you're somewhere where you can't leave a comment, DM me on Instagram at hdvanessanaja or on Blue Sky, vanessanaja.com. I would love to hear your experience. Thank you so much for listening.